Everybody, today I would like to do a final presentation for the project of communications for AD. My name is Sao Hang Feng. Due to my strong accent in English, I would like to put most of my work that I am saying on the screen so everybody can follow and understand. I'm truly sorry about these limitations. Section 1 was investigative journalism. Investigative journalism is a form of journalism that reporter may have to go investigate about a topic or matter that still include uncover things to provide new things and previously unknown information for the audience. The topic of investigative journalism can be related to a serious crime, political corruption, or corporate wrongdoing. In order to prepare for the investigative journalism, the journalist might have to spend a long period of time for researching and preparing. While discussions about the definitions of investigative journalism, I have found a quote from a British media theorist named Hugo. He said, "An investigative journalist is a man or woman whose profession is to cover the truth and to identify lapses from it in whatever media may be available." The act of doing this generally is called investigative journalism and is distinct from apparently similar work done by police, lawyer, auditor, and regulatory body in that it is not limited as to target, not legally found and closely connected to publicity. So how does investigative journalism differ from other types of journalism? Generally speaking, the investigative journalism can be seen as a search of information that carry the secret or hidden thing of a certain fact or case. Unlike other types of journalism, it does not simply take and report information that has been given by any source of billboard include governments, political parties, companies, or advocacy groups. In most cases, investigative journalism is based on individual patient to research. The purpose of it is to bring out the issue that's not covered in the mainstream press for the audience. Additionally, the method that is used also differs from other types of journalism. In comparison with other types, investigative journalism requires a lot more time and effort to discovery and assemble every piece of information together that the journalist found, especially when they have to verify the information that the journalist found on its substantial evidence. It takes a lot more time. It is not exaggerated to say that investigative journalism is costly to make. In conclusion, investigative journalism tends to be different than other types of journalism, not only in its contents, but also in the method and the way journalists collect information before publishing it to the audience. So let's get into the case. At first, I would like to give everybody the briefly introductions about the case. So if anybody haven't had a chance to listen to the podcast, they would have the idea about the case. On January 13, 1999, Hae Min Lee, an 18 years old high school student from Baltimore, went missing. A month later, her body was discovered in the park named Lincoln Park by the police. After a call from anonymous caller, Lee's ex-boyfriend Adnan Shai, a 17 years old boy, became the primary suspect for the police to investigate. Then Jay White, a former classmate who testified that he has helped Shai to bury Lee's body, became the witness to bring Shai to jail. In February 2000, Adnan was found guilty of murdering Lee, and he is currently serving a life sentence in prison. So based on so many uncovered things had not been pointed out in Adnan's trial, his trial and jail testimony had become the focus of a This American Life spin-off series, which includes the 12-part podcast serial. These are some key people in the podcast that I would like to take a look first before going to more questions. Sarah Koenig, who is the creator of the serial podcast, also the narrator. Hae Min Lee, a young victim of the terrible crime. She disappearing in January 13, 1999 and was found a month later but terrible death. Adnan Shai, Lee's ex-boyfriend, who has dated and break up with her on and off for 8 months. He is Muslim, he is accused of some murder from the police, but until now he still declined the police accusations. Jay White, the classmate of the victim and the assumed killer. His testimony about the case had changed over time, but he still asserts that Adnan is the killer, and this testimony was the key evidence that put Adnan in jail. Asia, although this billboard did not show up on the trial, she is actually a potential important alibi witness for Adnan. She had written the letter to the lawyer of Adnan for the first trial, saying she saw him in the library after school at the time he was assumed murdering. However, the lawyer did not contact her and bring her to the trial. So, how is serial investigative journalism? Serial podcast perhaps is a good example of investigative journalism, at least for me personally, because it has covered somewhat unknown, unused, or unpublished in the case of Hae Min Lee and the trial of Adnan Shai. Moreover, Sarah Koenig, the host and the executive producer of the podcast, and her crew has put effort to find out every piece of missing or unclear evidence by knocking on jail doors to try to secure an interview, finding blueprints of the Best Buy to determine whether there was a payphone near the parking lot. Besides, in some episodes, you can find the strong ethical standpoint and judicial system criticism has been involved in the podcast. For example, in the last episode for the serial, Connie said, "It is not enough to me to send anyone to prison for life." At this point, she had questioned the trustworthiness and the fairness of the legal system and the trial that Adnan experienced. However, to be clear, in this case, the serial podcast is not only an investigative journalism, but also a first-person narrative and storytelling that contains some humor, emotional, as well as personal opinion. Therefore, its accuracy and fairness still need to be reviewed. Section 2. What is the impact of this non-traditional way of covering the criminal case versus more traditional forms like television, news story, documentary, article? Surprisingly, the impact of serial has totally changed the way people are seeing possibility for podcasts at that time, in comparison with the more traditional forms such as television news story, documentary, article. This non-traditional way of covering a criminal case, podcast, has reached out more audience and made shy case splash on the international radar. It created a world record of more than 175 million time downloads. See, not everybody has enough patience to sit down, read an article or a journal with 1,000 words. I think this podcast with the interesting narrations of Connie has opened a new way, a great way for them to approach the case. That's why it makes the case more well known to the audience. By making it look like a story of fiction, this show encourages rapid appointment listening and sustains the curiosity of the audience. Therefore, the impact of it on people is also much wider. Sarah Koenig is really smart because she did not say directly her opinions about the trial of Adnan and criticize the legal system throughout the podcast. However, she interleaved those ideas in each part of the podcast and imprint it in the public mind. Through the flow of the story, the audience may unknowingly be influenced and unconsciously follow her perceptions. Although as an investigating journalist, Sarah did not receive any information from any group, as same as other traditional stuff. It is also made for profit purpose, just like any traditional farm. So the producer wants as much as attention she can get. In this case, some information might be edited before showing to the audience for grasping more of the public attention and target the topic that the narrator wants. Also, it is hard to avoid the BR opinions since the podcast is still made by humans. For example, during the podcast, Sarah Koenig had told the audience a different versions about Kevin Ulrich, who served as one of the prosecutors on Say's trial, in which he was found guilty of murdering ex-girlfriend Hae Min Lee. However, Calvin later told The Intercept in the interview that the serial team made only minimal effort to reach out to him for his perspective on the 15 years old trial. Basically, the serial team only reached out to him less than a week before the podcast started. We don't know who said the truth, but we know that what Connie saying about Ulrich in a podcast has significantly influenced the way people see about him and the reliability of the child trial. Furthermore, in a good aspect, the impact of this podcast has brought much attention to the case of Adnan Shai, and when new evidence has been allowed to be admitted, a retrial of harm for the defendant. Moreover, it led to the appearance of another podcast, Undisclosed, and opened a new stage for the audio media in the marketing field.